Well, joining me now is Democratic Congressman Brad Sherman, member of the Foreign Affairs Committee and Financial Services Committee. Congressman, thank you very much for joining us. I want to start off by asking you, realistically, is there any chance we're going to see some compromise this year between both parties in Congress?
Well, we'll have to have some compromise in order to avoid catastrophic congressional activity. That is to say, we have to keep the doors open and not shut down the government. We have to raise the debt limit as necessary to pay our debt. We did that in 2014. We rose all the way up to what I call the non-catastrophic Congress. I think that that kind of cooperation, we showed it in 2014. We'll see it in 2015. The second thing is Republicans are more than willing to help the president create more profits for giant corporations at the expense of the American taxpayer and at the expense of American working families. And in the areas of trade and corporate taxes, particularly trade, I think the president may be willing to cut some deals that will really hurt the American middle class.
Congressman, I want to read a quote from an article that Politico recently wrote reporting that House Republicans are going to kick off the new session this week with legislation to begin the construction of the Keystone Pipeline and to increase the mandatory Obamacare work week from 30 hours to 40 hours. How will Democrats respond to those two?
I think that you may see some Democratic support for the Keystone Pipeline, less for the change in Obamacare, because that really destroys the employer mandate. It turns to every employer and say, you used to employ people for 40 hours. Now if you employ them for 39.5 hours a week, Obamacare's employer mandate, which is perhaps the most important provision in the bill, doesn't apply. So I don't think there'll be many Democrats voting for what looks like a small tweak and is actually an attempt to put a gaping hole in the side of Obamacare.
Congress, let me ask you about the president very briefly. Is the Democrat strategy for the next 2 years to just have President Obama veto everything the Republican Congress tries to pass? And if so, is there any chance that may backfire on the Democrats come 2016?
Well, clearly, there will be two types of bills. Those bills that the Republicans expect the president to sign, and I'm very afraid of the trade policies that are popular with the giant corporations, and which would continue and metastasize the 25-year failed trade policies that the United States has engaged in that have hollowed out the American middle class and destroyed manufacturing in this country. I suspect that there will be other bills that they will pass in order with the expectation of a veto. And there'll be a combination of smart politics by the Republicans where they get the president to veto a popular bill and things they need to do for their own internal politics that hurt them with swing voters. The incredible anger at the president in a Republican caucus needs to find an escape valve, and that may cause Boehner to put on the president's desk some bills that don't help him with the national audience. Congressman,
let me switch gears a little bit. Your district has significant ties to the film industry, and of course you serve on the Foreign Affairs Committee, so I'm interested to get your thoughts about this round of sanctions on North Korea. President Obama announced it yesterday. Do you think it's going to have a real impact?
It's only a symbolic impact. We don't trade with North Korea. Certainly the individuals listed by the president were not planning to go to Disneyland this summer and don't have traceable assets here in the United States. But it is symbolic. What I've proposed is that this was an attack not just on an American company, but on free speech. They basically said any metroplex that has this one movie may be bombed, and they prevented people from seeing this movie in December in their theaters in the normal course. That's an attack on our First Amendment. The response is to give them a double dose of free speech by doubling our broadcasting into North Korea, and I think that allow us to broadcast not 11 hours a day as we do now, but 24 hours a day. It's something that would undermine the Kim Jong-un regime and speak well of the American belief that the truth is the best answer.
Congressman Brad Sherman, thank you very much, sir, for your good time.